Welcome to Less Girl Therapy. This is how I conceptualize the relationship between trauma and autoimmune and dysautonomia as somebody who has POTS, not as a medical doctor. Nothing I'm about to say is medical advice. This is literally just how I learned how to conceptualize what the heck was going on with my body. One of the biggest things that I noticed with dysautonomia is the fact that we don't have the conversation about how to actually understand how your body handles trauma in Western medicine, because when we go to doctors and we say my heart is racing too fast, or my legs are swelling up, or I can't see straight, they're looking for a physical problem to solve. And in some cases, like mine, there are physical problems to solve. I wear glasses because my eye lens does not go quick enough. But in other things, like why does my heart go too fast or too slow? Why do my legs swell? The response is, oh, it's autoimmune, it's dysautonomia, we're not really sure. Cool. So then I have to add in another layer, and I have to say, what traumatic events or what has my body gone through from a stress perspective that would lead us here? And this is not the blanket statement of, oh, well, you went through a lot of trauma and you went through a lot of stress, now your body works this way, done deal. What I did was I went through every single system of the body. I went back to like elementary school science, or maybe it's high school, and I looked at the circulatory system, and I looked at all of the other systems of the body to say, what the heck does my body do when it is under a traumatic response? So my veins, when they're in trauma mode, they constrict. The blood leaves your arms, it flows to your heart, it goes into fight or flight mode. Okay, so if my veins are doing that, what does my stomach do when I'm in fight or flight mode? Because fight or flight is a really broad statement, but what is actually happening to my physical body? Oh, my stomach muscles tighten, they constrict. Is that why I always have a stomach ache when I get really nervous? Light bulb, maybe. Leave that there for now. All I did was I looked at all of the systems of the body, and I started to understand on a fundamental level what their actual responses to stress and to trauma were. The moment that I had that conceptualized, I took a skeleton. I got one of those, I literally printed something off of Google of what the body looks like. And I wrote down what happens step by step. So in fight or flight, your blood rushes towards your heart. Okay, what happens next? How does your body literally start shutting itself down because it is afraid? When I mapped out the steps of this, I then started putting my symptoms underneath each of those steps. So my legs are constricting, or the veins are constricting. Interesting. Is that why I have tension in my neck and why my ears hurt and why I kind of get dizziness and vertigo and why my eyes are feeling challenged to see things? Does it have to do with the blood restriction of the trauma response, or is it something else? When I mapped out everything, I started seeing how my symptoms directly interplayed to this overall umbrella of trauma. And I'm putting trauma in quotes because doctors often throw it out there like, oh, you must have had a traumatic experience or a stressful experience. It is critical for somebody who has dysautonomia or even autoimmune to sit down and review the way that your symptoms are presenting to see your unique trauma response, because fight or flight is the overall umbrella term, but that does not encapsulate every single unique thing that your body does to protect you. So once I'd had my systems laid out, and once I reviewed what happens in a trauma response, and then I looked at my symptoms and I went, okay, cool, this is how they're going. I went back to the largest response and the smallest response, and I said, what can I do here? So for my eyes, this was a quick fix because I got glasses. For my legs, if I'm stressed out and my legs are constricting like this, okay, how do I counter that? What moves do I need to do? What type of physio do I need to do? What type of adjustments do I need to make in my daily life so that way my body can create a more relaxed response as opposed to one that it is making? And yes, there are the simple nervous system steps of drinking more water, eating before you have coffee, regulating your blood sugar and your blood pressure. All of these are critical to this. But then there's the added layer of how do I actually get my physical body to release in a space where theoretically I should feel safer. And that is a very individual person experience. One of the things that I did for the eyes, the ears, the neck tension, because I have jugular vein compression, was I sat down and I said, what postures are stressing me out? What are the postures where I find myself doing something that actually causes pain? Oh, looking at my phone in bed because my head is tilted this way. Great, let's not do that anymore. Oh, when I'm sitting cross-legged in a pretzel position and I'm like hunched over like this. Cool, let's not do that anymore. I started making minor adjustments to the way that my body moved in space to give my physical body more freedom. Now, when I started doing it, the number one thing that happened was I became emotionally more afraid. And this is a natural response. The moment that the body tries to open, if you've ever done yoga, you're going to know what I'm talking about. When you're laying down on a bolster and the yoga teacher is like, hey, release, relax, like just let go. And your body's like, no freaking way, this isn't happening. That's the feeling. So as we're trying to coax the body out of fight or flight through very specific individual movements to make you feel safer, emotionally, your body's going to go like this. It's going to be like, absolutely not. We're not doing this. I am not releasing. So this is where we add on the other layer of emotional processing. Somatic therapy is critical for this. Talk therapy can't access that. Somatic therapy is the space of saying, why is my body holding all of this tension and what emotion or what memory is coming up to do this? And if I had to do this all over again, the number one thing that I would do is I would go back, I would look at all my systems, I would figure out what my exact trauma responses were, I would adjust my movements to give my body some sensation of release, and I would go see a somatic therapist to figure out how my body responds when it is afraid, stressed out, worried, upset, angry. And I would do those things together. And the reason that I would do everything cohesively is because when you put all of these pieces together, if you make your physical body feel safer, if you emotionally encourage yourself to open up with a trusted practitioner, if you allow relief into the tension that we are holding and we understand why the body does certain reactions, it prevents us from being able to live in that space of fear that says, I don't know what's going on, I actually feel out of control. One of the major things that I saw was that it actually cut my anxiety in half when I understood, why is my stomach muscle tightening? Why can't I swallow? Why does it feel difficult for me to hear out of my right ear? It was no longer a guessing game. When I went back and I learned how my physical body worked and how a trauma response, the individual trauma response occurred, and then I saw what emotions were associated with it, suddenly it's a puzzle clicking together because you're looking at yourself as the whole person. You are no longer looking at yourself through the piecemeal parts that often Western medicine views a patient as.